Good morning, everybody. Well, the F-150 Lightning has a recall, so we're bringing it down to the dealership today to take a look at this recall and see how easy of a fix this really is. So let's dive in and take a look. All right, everybody. Well, Paul here with another episode on Tech Motoring. So we are taking our newly acquired, about 2 months ago now, we've had this F-150 Lightning, and we are taking it in for its first recall. So it got a recall for the, let me grab the paperwork. So this is the NHTSA Recall 24S76, and this is for the ball joint, the nut on the ball joint that might be loose or missing. Hopefully not missing. But anyway, we got the notice for that. So I don't know if this is every truck that got the notice has an issue. I think it's more or less you bring it in and then they take a look at it for you. And then they determine whether or not you have an issue. And then they do the fix real quick. So talking to the service advisor real quick over text the other day, he basically said, you know, just bring the truck in, should only take a few minutes. And if we need to keep it longer because it, you know, happens to be one of the affected trucks, then they'll do so. But in the meantime, we're basically just bringing it in, and it shouldn't be that long of a fix. I'm hoping for this to be pretty quick. Now, if you follow the channel and seen my other experiences bringing my cars to this dealership, you know I don't always have the greatest experience. And he said to bring it down early, so this way they could take a look at it early, maybe get me out early. I have an 8:30 appointment, but I'm going to try to get there around like 7:30. So anyway, let's dive into the actual sheet here, look at the NHTSA recall, and then we'll get down to the dealer. All right, so this is the recall for the truck, as you can see it up close. So safety recall 24S76, NHTSA recall 25V341 for the 2025 F-150 Ford truck. It applies to my vehicle. Yada, yada, yada. What is the issue? On your vehicle, the nut on the ball joint, which secures the front upper control arm to the knuckle assembly, may be loose or missing. This can result in a separation of the front upper control arm from the knuckle assembly. Of course, you can see the risk there. The separation of those things probably not really good. And parts are available for your vehicle. So replace the front upper control arm ball joint nuts and inspect the front knuckles. If necessary, your dealer will replace the front knuckle free of charge. So it could go as in-depth as replacing the entire front knuckle, which that is probably a little bit of work. I mean, for a normal person, a little bit of work. It says here less than 1/2 day, but I don't know if that's quoting replacing the knuckle. That would be quite a bit of work to do in less than 1/2 day of work, in my opinion. But anyway, basically just going through the process. So I got my appointment. We're going to go in right now. We're going to take a look at what needs to be done. We'll see how long it takes too. And hopefully this is not going to affect you, or if it does, hopefully it's not a serious problem. So let's get down to the dealer. All right, viewers. Well, I'm sure this is a familiar sight with those of you who follow the channel, but we're back. I feel like I've been here a lot more often lately, but yeah, looks like they are pretty much barely open. It's not even 7:30 yet, so we'll see how this goes. But let's get it pulled up to the service area and see if we could get checked in early. All right, well, the truck is in for service. Hopefully they could get to it very soon. And in the meantime, I'm kind of just looking around a lot, just trying to get some ideas of what might be on here. And seeing what else is available. Maybe some used Mustang Mach-E GT with only 15,000 miles on it. 42,000. Wow. I mean, it's just holding their values pretty good, actually. The Mach-E, surprisingly, even though the prices have dropped on them, they're still holding their value pretty well. So really cool. And see what else they got on the lot here. And so the current process for the inspection, basically, so they have to do like a quick inspection on the front end of the truck to see what the issue is. And I guess if the inspection looks good and they don't need to change out the steering knuckle, they said that they're going to replace the nuts on the top of the the front end there, the steering knuckle area. So they do that, and then I guess the car is free to go. However, if it fails this inspection, then they got to change out the steering knuckle, the ball joint, and a couple other things. So a little bit of work to be done, and we'll see. Hopefully, I'll get a call very shortly and see if maybe they'll just pass inspection and good to go. If not, I guess we'll get some front end work done to our truck. All right, back in the truck. So about 2 hours sitting there waiting for the truck to be done. A little bit longer than I thought, but my appointment wasn't until 8:30 anyway, so I guess theoretically it was an hour wait. But they did take my truck back immediately and started working on it. But anyway, I got my service order. We'll head home and we'll take a look at all the things that they did. All right, just got back, and so as we can see here, we have the service order here. So they replaced both the nuts on top of the upper ball joint there. So they just replaced the nuts. They obviously inspected the vehicle, realized that there was nothing major that had to be done. The steering knuckle was fine, the ball joint was fine. Just had to replace the nuts on top because that was what they were concerned about the most. So we can see here, performed recall, upper control arm fasteners replacement by lifting vehicle, removed front wheels, and visually confirming upper ball joint nut is still present on both driver and passenger sides. Verified no threads are showing between nut and upper control arm. Removed nuts and installed new nuts. Tightened nuts to recall spec of 46 foot-pounds. Reinstalled front wheels and torqued wheels to spec test drove vehicle. All right, well, there you go. So that's all it was to get that situated for this recall, at least for my particular vehicle. So just to give everybody the visual, here is the upper control arm here. Here is your ball joint, and I assume that this is the nut in question that was replaced during this recall. So obviously they have to verify, certain threads or something about how it looks in there, and then they basically just replace that nut. So pretty standard recall, pretty easy, but obviously if that nut was to fall off, then that could really, have some issues, give you some issues with the front end of the truck there. So glad it's done. All right, well, there you go. So that is the 2025 F-150 or F-150 Lightning recall for those upper control arm nuts there. So that's pretty much it. Bring the truck in, get it inspected. If they deem it's not really affected, they'll replace the nuts for you. If it is affected, then they might have to do some extra work, like the knuckle and possibly even the ball joint there, depending on how your particular truck is. But yeah, pretty straightforward. Anyway, hope this video helped you out. If it did, make sure you give it the thumbs up below, and make sure you subscribe to the channel for more F-150 Lightning content. Anyway, thanks again for watching, everybody, and we'll see you on the next one. And remember, welcome to the future. Welcome to Tech Motoring.